And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right, I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much that you wanted to come back for more. That was brilliant, folks. That was a fantastic decision because we have a lot more. Now, why do we have so much more? Because this is the podcast that is about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And you guessed it. My guest today is, in fact, a podcaster, amongst other things. This is the place where we all come together to raise each other up. And this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So let's get sailing. Let's bring in our guest for today. Uh, Please welcome to the show, host of the Fluent English Pro podcast, David Perez. David, how are you doing today, brother?
I am doing great, Rory. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. I appreciate you coming on. Obviously, we have some stuff to get into here today. I can't wait to hear about the podcast. But before we do that, just tell everybody a little bit about, who is David Perez? What are you about? What got you here?
All right. What got me into podcasting? Well, I'm a teacher by trade. I have a degree in teaching English as a foreign language. I have worked and still work as a teacher. And I love it. I freaking love this, man. I love being able. I mean, it's not just the teaching itself, it's how what you do with your students can help them transform their lives and open so many doors, in this case, for professional purposes, because that's what I've seen. People get to access so many new opportunities, jobs, opportunities to study abroad, thanks to learning a second language or a foreign language. In that process, I started creating podcasts for my students. So that's where I learned the art of podcasting, because some of my groups were online. Some of my classes were online. So I created content for them. And then I found out I was quite enjoying the art of podcasting. And went deeper into it, learned more about it, started to create other personal projects, and then I thought to myself, hey, I could be doing this for other people as well. Like I've been helping, my students through podcasting, and I'm sure I can help other people spread their message and bring transformation through podcasting. I have the technical knowledge. I can help with that, like the editing, the setup. And then I became a podcast producer. So I do both things at the time nowadays. I still teach. I have a podcast and a platform that focuses on teaching English for businesses mainly. And I also work as a podcast producer. I run a small agency, so we work with different types of clients.
Nice. Okay. The small agency, I don't think I was aware of. I knew you were a producer and I knew you had your own podcast. If you don't mind me asking, what do you do with the agency? Who do you service there and how does that work?
Yeah, we take care of all the tech overwhelm podcasters have to deal with, because like
Uh,
some of us love it. Like I love going down the rabbit hole and going on Amazon and buying Macs and all that. I'm sure you have been there as well, Rory. But there are some people who want to create content and they are experts in their like subject matter, whether it is, for example, I don't know, psychology or well-being or other areas. But tech is not their thing. Editing is not their thing. They don't know how to use the mic, how to get the audio and video produced. So that's where we jump in and we help them with that. I work mainly with entrepreneurs in the areas of health and wellness and
hmm.
entrepreneurship, because that's why I understand best. And I like to focus on not just like doing the technical stuff, but also being able to understand and to hear and to comprehend what the other person is doing. um there are areas I don't understand, so like that type of podcasters, I wish I could help them, but I don't understand what they do. Real estate, for example, I don't understand. I have no idea how that works. But in other areas it is good not to just be, I mean, it's still being a teacher, Rory. It's being a teacher, because it's not just like
Yeah.
giving them the edited audio or video. It's jumping on a call with them, listening to what their needs are, providing orientation, providing guidance, answering their questions, providing like additional material for them to study. So like I've noticed like a lot of the skill set I've acquired through my experience as a teacher was easily transferred into working with clients for podcast production. So it's still a teaching job.
Nice. Nice. I love your energy and your passion for what you do, man. I mean, it's just just coming right off you. It's beautiful. I really do. So you can tell you really love what you're doing.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, well, tell me a little bit about the Fluent English Pro podcast. If somebody tunes into that, what can they expect? Who is it aimed at? You know, that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, the main audience here is non-native English speakers who are either living in an English-speaking country or not living in an English-speaking country who want to improve their English level for work and business. So we focus a lot on communication skills. We are not teaching the ABCs here. We are not teaching like how you say the colors or how to like we are not doing that. It's like we're focusing on communication skills so you can perform better or you can like have your best performance at work or maybe you can have access to new job opportunities to that. So we cover part of what we cover is language stuff like English, advanced expressions and idioms and stuff like that. But we also cover, for example, how to deal with conflicts at the workplace, how to deal with job interviews, how to interact with providers. Yes, so it's not just the language part of it; it's also like the application of all this. So even if I mean I've noticed that as I have been producing the show, even if you're not part of the quote unquote intended audience, even if you're an actual native English speaker, there is a lot of content you're going to find useful. Yeah.
Mhm.
We had an episode released a few days ago, which is on how to be more visible. Yeah, career visibility for getting access to promotions, for example. Yeah, that will be helpful either you're a native speaker or not. Um, and so it's a good combination of professional growth and communication skills. It's a good balance.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I enjoyed listening to it. I had at the beginning of the podcast, you have almost a disclaimer kind of saying, hey, this isn't about the ABCs, like you said. This is for
Mhm.
folks who are, I think you said, maybe mid-level English speakers, you know, and above. And you can tell it's about refining,
Yeah.
the process. But I was really struck by the content. I listened to an episode, you were interviewing a lady from Argentina, and you were talking about like your resume, the CV and how to interview and what was important.
Yes.
And I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, and I haven't been on a job interview in a long time, but there were a couple things in there that jogged my memory a little, and I was like, oh, that's a good point. And I realized that, I'm not trying to speak English. I was just listening to this and getting that content for me. And so when you just said that, I just wanted to back that up. I've heard the podcast and you were 100% right. You don't need to be trying to learn English to get a ton out of your podcast. It's very business oriented.
It is, yes. As I mentioned, we're trying to strike a balance. So, what I've been doing as a teacher is make sure what you learn helps you transform your life and open a whole new world of opportunities for you. So that's what we're doing, because we've seen, and this is a very common thing, and people who are non-native speakers, they are so insecure about the language level. So we are providing that,
Mm,
but we've noticed that is not something necessarily exclusive or of non-native English speakers. A lot of people who are native English speakers, they are going to have the same struggles. That's why like a lot of the points that you can that you could hear can be easily like you can easily identify with.
yeah, for sure. So you're a teacher, and I get, where the podcast production comes from. You are teaching people how to do podcasts. Where did the original idea for the podcast, the Fluent English Pro, come from? What made you want to do that?
I didn't. That's true. I didn't want to do it at first because like for me like the English teaching part of my as a job and like the podcast production were two separate things. But people were asking me for that. They were asking for like more advanced material because something that happens. I live in a non-English speaking country, and usually like institutes or in places where you can learn English, they focus on general English. So there is a point where you finish your course and you cannot go farther than that
Uh,
because like they won't teach you business English. They won't teach you like this very specialized stuff. So people were asking for that. I was getting requests for private classes, for courses, for conversation clubs. We ran a conversation club for some time. So I thought I need to combine both areas of my professional life, like English, teaching English and producing podcasts, and then create this. And the reception has been amazing. It has been amazing. The growth has been super, super positive. We have had very rapid growth. And I'm glad to see this because I'm sure as a podcaster yourself, Rory, usually we have had multiple podcasts throughout time. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't. But the engagement here has been amazing. Like in comparison to my previous podcasts, the reception has been super, super amazing.
I love hearing that. I love hearing a fellow podcaster having success. I just think that's fantastic. And again, I love your attitude, and I really love that answer. So, what made you start your podcast? I didn't want to. It was so perfect, but I'm glad you did. Now, how many episodes do you have out now on the podcast?
I think we've published over 60 episodes now. I'm not
Or
sure.
60? Okay, I was gonna say I know you've been doing it for a minute.
Yeah,
So, okay,
yeah. I've been doing it for a while.
that's absolutely awesome. All right, so you got 60 episodes out. This is what you're doing with the podcast. Now, this is a little bit of a tricky question because if I'm just talking to a podcaster, then I can ask them things like, "Hey, how do you promote and stuff?" But you also are a podcast producer, and that's part of what you teach people. So I don't want you to give away the secret sauce or anything. All right, don't give away any secrets, to your teaching program. But as you put out the Fluent English Pro podcast, how do you promote it, and what can you tell us in terms of what has worked well for you and maybe what hasn't?
Uh, some of the strategies we use are easy to track, and so we are aware they work, and that's where the traffic comes from. Some other strategies we do, but we don't know how effective they are. So because we have a local audience, we already knew a bunch of people locally. So like just using the word of mouth has been super effective because we have a lot of friends, we have a lot of like acquaintances who were asking us for this type of information. So we just giving them what they wanted or what they were asking us for, and they have helped us spread the word. It has been very, very, very effective. LinkedIn as well.
Hmm,
I have been posting because the show addresses both the business side of things and also like it's addressed to professionals who want to improve their English level. So it's been a very, very positive channel. So I know that has worked very well. And as you were mentioning a moment ago, like there is no secret sauce. Like that is gonna change depending on what your show is about and where your audience is. Because for a different show, maybe your audience is elsewhere. I don't know. It's not on LinkedIn. Maybe it's on a different social platform or different channel. What we don't know if has worked well or not is I think TikTok, like growth on TikTok has been very, very, very rapid, but because consumption on that platform is very fast paced, so people click things, but
hmm.
I don't know how long they stay. So I don't know I don't know the quality of the people that come into the show from TikTok because like, you come from a very fast-paced platform onto long-form content, which is like very different thing.
Right.
Um, so I don't know how effective that has been, and something that has been like medium in terms of effectiveness has been Instagram. It has
Oh,
allowed us to start a few conversations because it's easier for you just to reply or whenever a new follower pops up, you let them know, hey, thank you very much for following us. Here is the link to the latest episode. Um, but we don't know how many clicks we get out of there. But I'm sure at least in the part of initial engagement, Instagram has been useful. We're
it's
still
good to
working
hear.
with all of the platforms. Yes, yes, yes. Like some of them worked wonders, and some of them like we don't know. Like it's tricky to measure, tricky to measure how effective they are.
Excellent. No, I love that answer. The thing that I love about that answer also is that you're testing things. You're trying things
Yep.
out and then you're seeing how they work. You're not just going all in like, oh, I got to do everything all the time. And I think people kind of get lost in that. They feel like they have to do everything that's available all the time, every day, a million times a day. Um, was there a method that you used to kind of choose where to start?
We have a strategy to kind of be multiple platforms at once without creating extra content. I am not a Gen Z person, so I struggle with creating content for social media. I don't like the social media treadmill thing that you have to get on it and I create content every day and jump on trends and do silly stuff. It works for a lot of people. That's great, but like for my personality, like I struggle with that. It creates a lot of friction. So what we work with, and it has worked, it has given us very good results, is repurposing content. So what we do
Hmm,
is we record the long form content, which is the podcast, and then we extract clips. We find like key lessons or key tips or like very, very essential points from the conversations. We turn those into 30-second to 60-second clips, and then that goes on Instagram and goes on TikTok and it goes well, we use here we use WhatsApp a lot, so we publish it on the WhatsApp status. We share it on groups. Um, so we create just one piece of content and then we derive that into multiple pieces of content. So we record once and then transform that single recording into a lot of different pieces, written, visual, audio, and video that go onto all these platforms.
nice, nice. Repurposing content is definitely a strategy I've heard people use and have a lot of success. I'm glad to hear that. That's excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the podcast, have you had a chance to or looked into monetizing the podcast at all? And if so, how has that gone for you?
Yeah, that is a common question. So here I kind of merge. I can merge the experience with my podcast as a podcaster and also the experience as a podcast producer. Um, what we're trying to do here is drive people into our conversation clubs and into our platform. So like we use the podcast as a lead magnet, as an authority building tool for selling services. That's our main thing. I have like from experience, for example, trying to monetize through ads. It's so hard. It's so hard. Like even if you do get sponsors, at least in the experience I have, I'm sure for other people it might have worked well. Like sponsorships usually help you cover production costs, but it's not like you're gonna make a ton of money out of that.
Right.
So what has worked well for us is using that for building an online presence, building authority, and then like people are asking, "Hey, do you teach classes? Hey, have you got a conversation club? Hey, do?" So we just start conversations from there, and it has worked well so far. It has worked well so far. Even this is something very very interesting that has happened. A lot of people that come to us do not come, that have become clients, haven't come to us directly through the podcast, but it's because they saw the podcast posted on a friend on a friend's social media feed, for example.
Hmm.
So like
Okay.
that human network, that word of mouth has proven to be very effective. So they if they want to buy the service, they already know like we are trustworthy because first of all it's a friend of theirs who is referring them to us and they can see the content and they say okay they know their thing. So we have a lot of points of connection there that reassure the potential client or buyer that we are trustworthy and that we are the solution that they can access.
Nice. Nice. Oh, I love that. All right. Let me ask you this about the podcast production, if I may.
Hmm.
Um, what is it you offer to folks? I know that you help people get started, for instance. You know, that was something I read. Do you only work with startups, or do you also work with existing podcasts? And then what service do you offer to those folks?
Yeah, I work with both. I work with existing podcasts.
Mhm.
Some of my clients have been doing or creating podcasts for years. They have hundreds of episodes. And I also work with people who have no idea about podcasting. And sometimes you have to do a little bit of or like saving them from what they're about to do. Like, oh, I'm just going to record and I'm going to use the built-in microphone in my laptop, stuff like that. And then I'm let them know, hey, if you're going to be creating a show for your business, like you need to make sure um, the audio sounds good. it's not just a vanity thing. It's because engagement is increased if the audio quality is good. If people cannot understand what you're saying properly, they are going to just disconnect. Um, oh God, I lost my train of thought there for a
Oh,
second.
hey, I
Can
asked you
you
like
go
four
back to the
questions,
question?
guy.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah,
fault.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. Let's go back to the core question, and then I can continue with my
sure,
ideas.
sure. You did answer the first one, and I appreciate that, which was, do you work with new and existing? And you do, so that's awesome. And then the other thing was, what services do you offer to these folks? Like, what would they be
Mhm.
coming to you looking for you to help them with?
Yeah. Okay. So if you have never done podcasts before, Um, I'll just go with you, take you by the hand and explain how everything does in a simple way. I will tell you what gear to get. And I always focus on like making sure the gear is budget friendly because if you're doing this for the first time, you should not go buy the fanciest mic and the fanciest eye interface and the fanciest camera. You first need to make sure this is the thing for you. So like, okay, we go with a budget friendly yet high quality gear. I teach them how to use the gear, best practices for recording audio, best practices for recording video, how to use the software. A lot of my clients, for example, do remote interviews, so I teach them how to use the software, or if they are doing on-site interviews, so I teach them, okay, this is how you gotta do it. You have to be a few uh, steps away from each other because then if you're close to each other, like we're gonna have all the audio mixed up and all that thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then I help them set up and build like all the assets for starting the show, like the intro and outro. I help them draft the script for the intro and outro. Hey, what is your CTA? What are you going to offer? Where do you want to lead people? Or is there a freebie that they're going to be offering? Is there a lead magnet? So like all that, building the thing from the from zero, not just in terms of like what things sound like, but also the concept. So that will be for like for first time podcasters. And once everything is set up, I help them build systems because I'm sure and from my experience, that is part of the um, like one of the key elements that guarantees that podcast is going to be consistent is appropriate systems and workflows. So I just make things organized in a way that for them is just a matter of recording, and then everything will just go on. It's like there is no friction there. So I tell them, for example, the podcasting setup, like the recording setup, should always be set up. So you don't have to every time you're gonna record, you don't have to take anything out of the box and install things. Just do it. Once everything is running, and here is where we can have, for example, the same situation for experienced podcasters. Is I tell them you send me the unedited files, and then
Mhm.
I do my magic, or me and our team, we do our magic and we give you like things that are ready to publish, or we can publish that for you on YouTube or on your preferred podcast hosting platform. So you don't have to worry you don't have to worry about any of that, because if you are, for example, if you are a psychologist who is doing educational psychology, so people can have like a grasp of the concepts of how therapy works and all that, like that's what you should be focusing on. Know on how you can make the volume levels even when you are like getting the podcast produced. Like, okay, so we take care of all the tech side of things, and of course includes a little bit of technical support, because sometimes there are things that are outside of our control. I'm sure you have experienced that, like the hosting platform has a server error and then something is duplicated, something's missing. So we jump in, we take care of connecting or reaching out to the hosting services customer service team and doing all that. So like we want them to not worry about any of the tech stuff.
Nice. No, I love that. It's great. So it sounds like now, how long have you been doing the podcast producing?
That's gonna be about, I think it's gonna be over 6 years, almost 7 years now.
All right. So you've been doing it for a while. I mean, you're accomplished at
Yeah,
this. That's beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
That is absolutely beautiful. All right. I love that. The in your work as a podcast producer and as a host of Fluent English Pro podcast, one of the things everybody's talking about, of course, is AI and how it
Mm.
works and what we use it for and everything else. How do you incorporate it into your podcast and also into the podcast production?
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. I think it is one of the trickiest questions, because I'm sure whatever I respond now is going to be different from what I could respond 3 months or 6 months from now because things are changing so fast.
That's fair. Yeah.
So, how we are okay for Fluent English Pro, how we are implementing it is brainstorming new topic ideas, content ideas. We use it for that. We just, and this is something I recommend whenever you're using AI. Like we just don't use whatever the AI spits out. We use AI or ChatGPT or Gemini, for example, as a way to interact so we can give it what like the specifics of what we want and then it can give us more precise information. So what I tell the AI tool is ask me 10 questions to better understand this and ask me is each question on a separate entry. So through the series of questions is that the AI receives the information. I'm not just telling the tool to give me 10 episode ideas on how to perform better at job interviews. No, like, okay, we have the question and answer interaction. We identify like key friction points, key needs, key topics, and then we create the episodes based on that. So it's mostly for planning. It is very useful. It has saved us tons of time, a lot of time, and also for creating the episode descriptions, like to assist in that part. We are using Notebook LM. I don't know if you're familiar with it. If you are not, you should definitely try it out because it's way more precise than using other tools for summarizing specific podcast episodes. So we use that as an assistant. Then we have a writer like come in and polish the content. So like there is actually human interaction or human action there to make sure the final product is publishable. So in that regard, that's how we were using it. And there is another aspect. My daughter, who works with me, by the way, she creates the cover arts for the reels for Instagram reels by using AI. So like
Hmm.
she created a cartoon version of me, and that's what she uses there on Instagram. That's how we have used it so far. That's how I would like to continue using it because I've seen other options are emerging, like clones and avatars. I don't like that. I don't know if maybe it's kind of an old school type of feeling, or maybe it's my conception that or my idea that podcasting or the content you're producing should be human and should be for humans. It's a human relationship you're building. You're not just like selling or like throwing things in the air for anybody to listen. You're building a connection, and that connection needs to be person to person. Um, and a lot of people are just not gonna care about it, and they're gonna accept it as is. And a lot of people are not gonna do that. So I think that's gonna create maybe some divide in terms of uh, audience. But and this is something I've been considering as well is or I've been observing there is going to be a little bit of pushback even from platforms. We have, for example, YouTube. They're removing monetization from channels that have content that is only created through AI tools.
I think I saw something about that. Yeah, that's going to be
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So it's a matter of being a. It depends on what your goals are. But because my goals here are building that human connection and keeping that authentic human voice, like, I'm not a native English speaker. I have an accent. I make mistakes. I want people to hear that. I don't want it to be perfect. I don't want it to be like a canned product. I want it to be real. And a lot of people will appreciate that.
Yeah. No, for sure. I love that last piece of advice, especially. Um, I think that that's something that gets lost in AI also, is that podcasting is almost the last barrier of, human connection, in that way. It's very personal. And so when AI takes over too much of it, then at some point we lose that. And I'm glad that you keep that in mind when you're working with people too. Is that something that you teach to folks?
Not yet, but it's definitely part of what we're doing. Something I have read on LinkedIn multiple times is because now a lot of the things you're gonna see on online, like you're not gonna know if they are real or not. Face to face, events are going to become very important. And part of the plans we have, for example, now is start doing some on-site events, face to face, do those like those networking activities, doing those networking conversations, having those conversation clubs on site. Yes, because that
Yeah.
way, okay, we're sure, like I can tell you, this is not AI, but there's gonna be a point where you will not be able to tell the difference. But we also have like this human part where you can like shake another person's hands and have a coffee with them and like share about what your professional experience is. Mm, so I do think that oh, it goes down to what you value, you know. It's
Hmm.
it's very tricky. That's for me personally, but there are other brands that can go a different route and they may succeed by like going full AI, for example.
Yeah. No, again, I love that. I'm glad that that's, how you feel about it. The human interaction is something I think is really important for us to hang on to somehow. And I think you're right. I think that in-person events and meetings and things like that are going to end up coming back, maybe because of AI in a lot of
Hmm.
ways. That's a really, yeah, I like that. I like it a lot. Okay. As you do this, as we've talked about promoting and monetization and everything else, I appreciate everything you've shared on those. You have, how many times a week do you come out on your podcast?
Say again, sorry.
How many times a week do you come out on your podcast? Do you
How many
publish?
times we try to publish at least once a week.
Okay. And are
I
they
th
all interview episodes?
No, we have a mixture of interview episodes and solo episodes.
Excellent.
Lately, we have published more interviews than solos because solos, believe it or not, even though they're shorter, they take a lot more work because you have to do a lot of research and like scripting and all that. While interviews is like more conversational,
Gotcha.
but we would try to combine both formats.
Nice. And I know you and I met on Podmatch, but what other ways besides that do you use to find your guests for your show?
I use my network on LinkedIn. I reach out to people who I see have or create content or have very interesting perspectives on areas I would like to cover, so I invite them on. Also, I am part of a community of English teachers. So some of them
Hmm.
specialize in particular areas. There is one, for example, who specializes in sustainability. There is another one, which is, I think, the episode you listened to, who specializes in accessing or acing, sorry, job interviews in IT. So like I get some of these teachers who have like very specific areas of specialty, and I bring them on. So I use
Nice.
community and contacts as well for that.
Nice. No, I love that. Do you have a preferred mode of finding guests? Is there one that's worked better than the other ones for you?
Well, I know one that hasn't worked very well, or used to work for a time, but doesn't work very well now, which is Facebook groups.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was effective at a time, but now it's like a lot of people spamming, and like it's a lot of situations going on there that have damaged communication on those platforms. So Facebook groups are no longer a tool. I think LinkedIn is very good because you get to kill many birds with one stone because you get to get your interview on a very specific area of specialty, but also you get to either reactivate communication with a person who is a contact and you hadn't spoken with them for a while, or you get to get a new contact. So for me, that has been a very nice experience.
That's great. Yeah, it sounds like LinkedIn is very powerful for you.
It has been, yes, because our audience is business
Great.
oriented and work oriented. It has been very useful.
That is great. I love that. Um, I always ask everybody a corny question, when I come in here. And so I'm going to hit you with that right now. So get ready. Here we go. What is it about doing your podcast that you love the most? And what is it about doing your podcast that you just absolutely hate the most?
Okay, I have clarity on both answers. Uh, what I love the most is knowing that well, on one end is something that mm, is not there as like it is kind of a unique show because you have a lot of podcasts that teach English, but not many podcasts that teach English for professional growth or for business. So that's a good thing, and that is helping the listeners improve their professional lives, open up to new opportunities, and have better lives, both on personal and professional levels. So that's what I love, like the transformational aspect that the content brings. I love that.
Great.
What I don't love, and luckily my daughter helps me with that because she's Gen Z, is social media posting, social media management. I am not a friend of social media. I have a lot of friction with that. I know like you have to be there because like that's how businesses work nowadays. Like you are either on social media or you're invisible in some kind of way. Even it's not totally true, but that can be the perception for some people.
Sure. Yeah.
As a business owner, like what I do is like what I'm not good at or what I hate doing, I delegate to someone who loves doing it. So in that case, I had to get somebody else's help
Nice.
to take care of social media.
Nice. Great answers. Absolutely great answers to that question. How can people reach you, find out more about you, about the podcast, about your podcast producing business? How can they reach out to you the best way?
Yeah, okay. If you happen to need help with your podcast production processes, or if you have like a technical question, or just want to reach out and maybe have a virtual coffee, you can find me at info@talkingsilkworm.com, or you can just use the contact form at talkingsilkworm.com. That is my website for podcast production. Or if you just happen to learn more, you happen to be willing to learn more about like how you can have professional growth, even if you're a native English speaker, you can find the podcast Fluent English Pro on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm sure you're gonna get a lot of value from it as well.
That's wonderful. All right, we'll make sure that those links are in the show notes. I love that. I appreciate everything you've brought here today and all the info for everybody that you've shared. I really love it. As we kind of close this out, let me ask you one last question here. For folks who are not quite where you are in the podcasting journey, what's your best advice for those folks?
Uh, um, Keep your expectations in check.
Mm,
I've seen so many times that people want to go quote unquote viral, or they want to have like 100,000 downloads after their third episode or after their 10th episode. And then they get so frustrated and they drop out because, oh, I didn't get the success I wanted. Podcasting is a long-term game. So you have to be prepared for that. Do not think or do not expect that you're going to have like immediate success or immediate results. If you do, like this is not the format for that. If you want to go viral, I think TikTok is the platform for that. And people will just put you aside whenever the new shiny thing comes up. But podcasting is a long-term game. And the beautiful thing of podcasting, though, is that relationships you build with your audience are so much solid and long-lasting here. So think of it long term, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years from now. And so that's one thing. And the other, which is like connected to that, Rory, is think of it as a tool to build relationships, not transactions.
mm,
Because
yeah,
like people who get to know you, people who get to listen to your show, they might not be or they might not become your clients, but they will know someone they will refer you to. So all those connections you build are going to be super valuable in the long run.
nice, nice, nice. I love that. I really do. That's fantastic advice. David, you've got a great story. I love what you're doing. I love everything you had to say today, and I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing it with everybody, and just letting them in to hear some personal stuff about David Perez, man, host of Fluent English Pro, and podcast producer David Perez. Thank you for being with us today, brother. It's been great.
Thank you very much, Rory. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, this has been another awesome episode of The Podcaster Nation. The reason that we have these fantastic episodes and these amazing people on here is because this is the podcast that is about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And as we showed again today, this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.